You are watching the Pan African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all of you. Good night to some of you also joining the Pan African Daily TV. Today is Wednesday, and we're starting officially with the Global Peace Week, as we all announced, that will be taking place from today to Saturday or Sunday, respectively. So we want to thank all of you that are signing in today, and we do apologize for the past conversation that we had with King Bongane. And out of a sudden, we had an obstruction. Just 5 minutes into that conversation, volumes were off. We couldn't figure out what the problem was. But I am assuring you, tomorrow we're going to have King Bongane live on the Pan African Daily TV, particularly in this moment where we want to tackle global issues for peace. Now, the question today, you have our guest already in the studio. Reverend Dr. Niinana Kweku is here today to open or to officially inaugurate this 4 days or 5 days of peace that we just want to meditate, go into our inner circle, into our inner selves, and ask some questions. But before we do that, he's going to actually direct us or hold a conversation. Is peace really possible? Yes. But is peace without justice possible? Today, we want to find out how a world can live in peace with one another, taking into consideration all the marginalized situations that we as African people are undergoing, be it systematic racism, be it all types of challenges, or the wars and conflicts on the continent, in the diaspora, everywhere we see the Black man is always, or the Black woman is always at a challenge point in one time in life. So it was very necessary that we talk about the possibility of how each and every one of us can contribute in its own way through our organization, our institutions, negotiation, facilitation, mediation. How is it possible for us or to contribute to achieve a peaceful world? So I want to thank our guest, Reverend Dr. Niinana, who is here joining us live on this conference. It's 11 a.m., he said, so it's very early morning out there. I want to salute you, my Reverend, for joining us, taking up your time. And I hear you're going to be here with us just for an hour because you have all the constraints. So thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tata, for inviting me here again. And it's always a pleasure to be involved in the conversation around whether it be global peace or inner peace. It's absolutely necessary that the conversation continues. And as you were saying before, theoretically, if you talk to clergy, you talk to politicians, you talk to anybody who's really concerned about what's going on in the world and in terms of there being world peace, they will tell you theoretically it's possible. But in actuality, and it's just like you said before, is peace possible in the face of the fact that people are still being abused? Systems are created in such a way that the people are continuing to suffer. So how can you expect a person to be at peace with whatever the process is if they're suffering? So, for me, it comes down to what you can do as an individual in terms of creating an environment for peace. And me personally, in fact, I was telling somebody yesterday that I get up every day. It's a war. We're in a continuous war because even the people that we come in contact with on a day-to-day basis, it's a battle. It's almost impossible to have a conversation with them because they don't understand your perspective as an African man or an African woman, no matter what part of the globe you are. and they think that somehow you have a. In fact, somebody sent me a message a while ago. Why don't you go back to Africa if you don't like the way you're being treated in America? I, what's the point in that when you guys are already, you're still in the invasion process of Africa, not necessarily militarily, but with the Asians, the infrastructure, the schools, and the whole process of taking over the whole infrastructure of Africa. If you're running Africa the same way that you run the systems here, what purpose would it benefit me to be in that? Doesn't matter where I'm at.
Mhm.
I have to stand up and call things what they are. And in America, there's absolutely, when you say something against America, they say, well, wow, you're ungrateful. Why aren't you
Mm,
grateful? Why aren't you grateful? I said, how can I be grateful when people are still being murdered in the street, when politicians are still lying to us, or they are still manipulating the process? We have homelessness in the richest continent on the planet, supposedly
mm,
the richest country in the world, where people are sleeping in the streets and they're working every day. So it's
mm,
not like people are lazy and not trying to be successful. It's just that the structural uh, things that's happening in the way that the capitalism is set up and designed, it makes it almost impossible for people to maintain any kind of life where they have some real peace or
mhm,
joy or happiness in their lives. So it is a battle. And me, I tell people to strive for that spiritual peace, because one of the things that you will hear in your dialogue with people about peace, global peace or whatever peace, is that they very seldom bring up the peace that's acquired through spirituality.
mm,
Everything is predicated off of how well am I living, where am I living at, what are the political conditions, what are the laws, and those kind of things. And but even people who consider themselves to be very religious in terms of church, the scriptures even states that there will be wars and rumors of wars as long as man is in existence. This is stated in their Bible. So they can't really, they say, well, when God is ready, uh so they believe in a God that's outside of themselves. I believe in a God that lives within us, and we have a responsibility to get up and try to bring about that quiet place, that spiritual place where we can at least live each day with hope and dignity and understanding, and be receptive and listening to other people and hear their pain.
mhm,
I think one of the things is that we don't hear other people's pain. We only hear our own, and it's time for us to find that inner peace, that global process to help us to be able to be a kind of a model for other people. They need to look at you and say, "Wow, why is this person seem to be so much at rest and at peace with himself?" They need to understand that they can achieve those same things, but it requires that your mindset. We need to recalibrate our thinking. Our whole thinking process is we have to understand has been is it's sick. It's been we've been programmed to think and act and react a certain way. Well, now it's time for us to reclaim our own mindset, and to come up with our own thoughts, and to really try to establish a process by which um, each day is a blessing. I feel like each day when I get up is a blessing for me to get up and feel good about where I'm going, and what impression I could have on the world, or what I can do or say to alleviate the stress and strife in somebody else's life. So it's
mhm,
it's, it's very it's I won't say it's difficult, because life is a blessing. Life is a blessing. And I think it becomes really detrimental when we think that it's hopeless, when we think that
mhm.
there's no possibility of world peace. And I think about what brother, God, I'm trying to think of his brother's name. He wrote a book called Man, God, and Civilization, and
Yeah.
how he talked about on the continent for 30, 40,000 years there was no wars among African tribes.
Mhm,
and we can't even comprehend that. When you tell people that, and you invite them, so look, go read the book, and it'll you will see the written documentation of what took place on the continent for all those thousands and hundreds and thousands of years before the Europeans invasion, before the Asian invasion, before the British invasion, before those things took place. Africa was not a continent was that in constant war. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
we had wars, but it was not in a constant war like now. We just see where they just decided to get out of Afghanistan. 20 years they were in Afghanistan. What was the purpose of them being in Afghanistan? One, it was the drugs, to maintain control over the poppy seeds and for the drug stuff there. But you have to understand that there were people who were actually making money. They built up an infrastructure there for 20 years. And those American contractors, British contractors, different contractors who were making money to establish that for 20 years. And for whatever reason, they decided now, let's get out. Let's pull out. But that doesn't mean that there's peace, because the same things that they claim were happening, such as abuse of women, the abuse of their citizens, those same things are taking place even as they pull out and load the planes to come back to America or to go back to their respective countries. So it's important that we understand when we say peace, a global peace or a world peace, or however you want to pronounce it, what are we looking for? What is it that we're seeking? And I think that the only thing that you can really actually say for sure when it comes to the peace situation is that the inner peace that one achieves within themselves from continuous study, the continuous prayer, the process of eliminating worldly perspectives from your mindset in order that
Mm-hmm.
you can come to a place where you can say, I'm at peace, and what can I contribute? How can I contribute to bringing this peace to others on the planet? But and to continue to expound on that, there's so many different ways. I mean, when you look at it as changing in policy, people talk about changing policy and relationships and all of that kind of stuff. You got so many different groups of people on the planet that changing the policy in the United States is not going to affect change around the globe. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to affect change. That means that we have to sit down to the table. We can't have a United Nations where we have African people sitting in there, but they don't have a vote on the activities that come out of the decisions that come out of there. So it's important that somehow, and we have not been able to do that. We have not been able to come to a table of reconciliation, and that needs to take place on a global perspective. But if Britain is ready, then the U.S. is not ready, or Russia is not ready, or China is not ready, and so we have no way to control how these people implement or enforce their systems on the day-to-day citizen. But we can, on an individual basis, we have to change the way we educate, which is why I always believe that in order to have any real success in terms of changing the dialogue in America, you must have a way to change the whole process by which people are educated. And
Mm-hmm.
and, and that is very difficult, because right now we have people fighting to keep the truth from being taught in the schools, and parents are so busy that they don't have time to interact at the level that they need to in order to ensure that their child is not being miseducated. They're working so hard just to try to survive. So it's a work in progress that we have to realize that I'm not going to necessarily change the whole dynamic about what's going on, but maybe I can plant seeds. I can plant seeds in my own personal kids and my grandkids, my family, and leave a legacy of, hey, this is important. We have to continue to fight for this. And I believe that is the spiritual directive that we've been given from the ancestors and from the beginning of time, that we have a responsibility to fight for that global peace or world peace. and to protect the land, to protect the continent. And we really have to work hard at doing that. And we can't be sidetracked by these other things that what I would say normal people would think about and stop and say, well, I can't do it because of this, I can't do it because of that. But I look at it from this standpoint. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, if I don't interact with like-minded people to bring about that process, then where will our children go? Where will our grandchildren go? Where will their
Correct.
kids go? And what opportunity will they have? Will they grow up in a world that's even more chaotic than the one that we live in? So
Mm.
we have to fight. It's a continuous, everyday, 24-hour a day struggle, and but we have to find ways to achieve inner peace and understand that we've been given a task, and that we've been given the tools to fight that task with, and we have to accept the responsibility for that task. You cannot turn your back on what the creator has laid out for us. He did not create us to be monsters, to murder, to destroy the globe in the process of trying to get rich, and that's where we're at. And unfortunately, people are so indoctrinated with that idea that it's almost impossible for them to see that there's a real chance for us to come together. There's a real chance for peace, but we have to be open. And I know that you probably experienced this too, because I talk to different people every day,
Yes.
and it's so hard to reach them, no matter how convincing your argument is. They come back with something that's very negative. Uh, like, you don't know what you're talking about, or they get, and when they really get stuck, they get into name calling. And
Mm.
at that point, I just refer them back to Dr. Clark's messages. I refuse to debate with somebody who's unintelligent, because if people don't know, they don't know. And no matter how much you try to, you can't change a person's mind.
Mm.
The only thing you can do is access information to them and share it with them. They choose whether to accept it or reject it. And then we have to be ready. It's okay, this person is not ready, and move on to the next place that we have to put, do the work that we need to do. So I I just believe that the Creator created us, put a spirit of love and taking care of each other. Those things are innately in us, and we allow them to be taken away from us through a process of replacing that with materialistic world, or a shadowy world where I call we can only see certain things. We can only see that we got to go to work. We have to make this much money. Or we have to live this place. We have to have our kids in this school. Or we get lost in those things. And after a while, one of the things I have noticed, but working with families, is that families lose their children. They lose their children, and they wonder why my kids don't interact with me, or why they don't respect me, and these kind of things. And it comes to find out that there has been very little interaction, even with families. They meet in the place where they abode, where they live at, but families are busy out making money, and kids are busy out going to school and interacting with their friends. And like I tell people, if you don't raise your kids, then other kids that they associate will raise them, because they be learn to be influenced by the things that they see outside of the home. It, it
Mhm.
it's like TV. If you stick your child in front of a TV, uh, and that's all they do is watch TV and play games, then they start to become influenced by that. And so you have to take time and make time to interact with your children, even when they are sometimes too busy to interact with you, because you have to let them know that it's important that you maintain that stability in the family dynamic in order for them to be healthy, in order for us to call ourselves a family. How can we call ourselves a family, or how can we call ourselves a community or a village, if we're not even a village in our own households? So world peace is just like anything else. It starts at home. It starts what you teach your children, how you teach them to to view the world and how to interact with the world and how to treat people and how to respect every living thing on the planet. Uh, those are the tools that your children need when they go out into the world. And a lot of more often than not, even adults have not gotten those tools. uh, they somehow their lives were so in such a disarray that they became confused mental health people. And what I call mental health people is that we're suffering from all kinds of things. They give them all kinds of labels: post traumatic stress, post traumatic slave syndrome, post
Mm.
traumatic that, and people get lost in those things, and they don't know how to get away from it. And I had a woman call me from New York the other day, and she said, "Wow, I need to talk to you." And she's taking all these medications, and I told her, I said, "Well, if you're taking those medications, then what you're doing is masking whatever is going on with you. You've
Mm.
got you've got to put a program in place by which you get up and operate and work on every day." And so I've been, like counseling her long distance. She called me from New York a couple of times a week to make sure that she stays on her program. And the thing about it is that people don't have access. People are now looking to go on TV or on radio and hear what somebody say to hope that that will give them the impetus they need to change their life. They need
Mm.
that consistently. Uh, Consistency is a goal that we should all be trying to shoot for, because
Mhm.
you can't exercise this week and then don't exercise next week. You've got to do
Correct.
it every. You can't eat properly this month and then next month you can eat anything you want. We have to teach people how to be consistent and how to
Mhm.
maintain that consistency, which is something that I think is missing in the whole behavior, mental health, school, educational field. Those things are not really taught, or they're not really magnified at a level that people gravitate to it in such a way that they walk away. You should not participate in some way you don't walk away with something. If you go in
Mhm.
a classroom, you should walk out of there with something. And that's the way our people, my grandmother and people taught us when we went to school. So you should not go up there to school and then come here and can't tell your grandmother something about what you learned that day. You should take something away. It's just like if I go in a meeting every day, I want to take something out of that meeting. If I have a conversation with somebody, I want to take something from that conversation that's beneficial to in the exchange from the people that I'm getting the information from. So it's very I won't say stressful, because I try not to deal with stress on that level. You know, sure, we all experience stress of trying to deal with an attitude or a mentality where people are lost and confused and in a state of just, going through the motions every day. But my thing is that I refuse to, succumb to it, and we all go through periods where we feel, am I really being as progressive as I need to be? Am I
Mhm.
being successful at what I'm trying to do? Uh, what can I do better today than I did yesterday, to make this thing work better for all of us? And as I was stating at the beginning, global peace. I do sincerely believe in my heart that it is possible, but it'll be possible through a total recalibration of how we think, our whole educational process, our whole development around the spiritual awakening that needs to take place in us. Because one of the things you see is people are quoting spirituality and godlike attributes as if they were tangible things out in the world, like the things that they buy and sell.
Mhm.
That's not what it's about. And having people to calibrate themselves with that process and that thinking is a work in progress. It's almost like adults need to go to a class every day and learn how to be parents and learn how to be adults, because if you're not an adult, you can't teach a child how to be an adult. And I was
Mhm.
thinking, we go through, where a child goes through development at a certain age where they go into womanhood or they go into manhood. Well, who teaches them? That was a very
Absolutely.
pronounced thing on the continent. You had to go through the rites of passage,
Mhm.
and through that rites of passage, there were things that you had to learn. And now we don't have that. You have some groups who uh, put some programs together called the rites of passage, but it's not consistent. They A lot of them do it based on whether they're getting some kind of government or county or state contract
Mhm.
on certain groups, and then once the money runs out, then they're back at square one, which is what I have had participated in myself for a while in Oakland, where we had programs called the Chimani Wanawake Project, and that means the men and the women in Swahili, and we taught those kids, uh, how to take responsibility and try to put them through a rites of passage in the classrooms that we
Mhm.
work in. And they actually, I think I told you about this before. They actually, when the school year ended the last time I was there, they told us that we didn't need to come back. Well, the funds ran out, and we offered to volunteer to come in and do the work, and they refused to allow us back into the school. So you have a system that's against you. It's almost like this discussion around critical race theory and the 1619 project. People are fighting and arguing about, I don't want my children to learn about this stuff. I don't want my children to be made feel guilty because of the history of America. But the reality of it is, if they don't learn the truth from you, they're going to learn it somewhere, and
Correct.
it'd be better that they learn it in a environment where they get the knowledge from it and not walk away feeling guilty about it. So we really have to open up our mindset
Mm.
around how we transfer information, how how we become role models to present the appropriate actions and responses to what everyday life is. We need to know that. Our kids need to know that. The people who teach our kids need to know that. The politicians need to know that, because for whatever reason, they're a position where they are making rules and regulations, but they're not conscious of how they affect the students. They're not conscious of how they affect the teachers. That's why you have the school board is fighting against the state is fighting against the school, the parents is fighting against the teachers. So there's a continuous war going on in every aspect of people's lives.
Correct.
You we're not talking about the Afghanistans and the actual physical wars where they're using weaponry to destroy people. People are destroyed long before they get there on a psychological level. I remember back in the day when Muhammad Ali refused to go into the military. And I remember having conversations as a young man, uh, with people about, I understood why he didn't go. And the reality was, uh, I felt the same way. Why should I go and murder people on the other side of the planet that I've had no interaction with, that I know nothing about, because
Mhm.
somebody told me to do so? And a lot of people say, "Well, you're not a patriot. You don't love America." Well, America don't love us. When America shows that it loves us, how can you ask somebody to fight for you? As Muhammad Ali said back then, you won't fight for me here at home. And so we have to understand that there are consequences for how we live and how we are educated, and and learn how to make decisions based on our own personal belief. He made a decision based on, I will not go and kill other people on the planet. I will not do that. I will not participate in it. In fact, I was in the military myself, and I remember I was given a discharge because I was told that I had told him that I would not be shooting at anybody, you know. And they said, "Well, how are you going to be in the military?" I said, "Well, that was not my purpose, because back then you could go into service and you could get free education on the GI Bill and that kind of stuff." And so a lot of people A lot of people took a chance, and their lie went in and got into combat, got killed. Some didn't come back, and some did. But the final thing is that when they did come back, they found out that all those things that were promised to them they didn't get, such as the GI Bill, where when they came back from the military, it was mostly given to white soldiers. Black soldiers were having a hard, difficult time trying to access those loans to get through the banks and so forth. So we live in a community, and I say community, a community of the United States of America that has not been very good to us. That they have lied to us, they have misled us, they have miseducated us, they continue to abuse us, they murder us, they design systems that destroy us, and then people ask us, "Why aren't you grateful?" What do we have to be grateful for? The only thing I have to be grateful for is that the Creator allowed me to be upon the planet to continue to fight against that kind of tyranny and to continue that every day that I breathe. And I will do that until I take my last breath. Yes. So yeah, it's war. It's war, and when we talk about it in the sense of global peace, I think right now too, I'll have to agree with a lot of the people that theoretically it may be possible, but unless we can come together from a global perspective, it's not possible, because if it's not a war here, it's going to be a war somewhere else. And depending on how these entities interact, whether it's Britain or Germany or Asia or Japan or Russia or Afghanistan or wherever it is, the thing about it, if one of those entities goes to war, it has the potential of drawing the other ones into it, because originally the U.S. was not in the German war, in the war with Germany, when they supposedly destroyed, put the Jews in the oven. They were drawn in later by Britain. They were drawn into that war. In fact, we have to understand that people, they get into wars for economic reasons. It is not always because they care that much about people. It's just like those people in Afghanistan. When they were there for 20 years, they claimed, well, we're doing all these great things, and their attitude about how they treat women, all those things are being realized. But then all of a sudden, whether it's the right thing to do or not the right thing to do based on your information, those people are going to be treated the same way. And they've already started to abusing the women. I mean, so much is beating them on live TV. And so we have to understand that this country is not about the emotional attachment to ideas. They have an ulterior motive for whatever involvement that they choose to be involved with. Whatever they wanted to accomplish, they've accomplished it. And now those people are going to go back to suffering under those same traditions that they were under before the 20-year war were there. So what do we do? How do we react to that? And people should be against every war. They should have to, if we're going to go to war, if a country is going to go to war, that's something that should be decided by the masses of the people, and that should not be decided by two or three hundred politicians, and especially when they're so tied to all of the corporations who make money off those wars. All the weaponry, all of that stuff that's being made and sold to the different countries. Uh, all of that weapons that they left in Afghanistan can now turn around and be used against other countries, or they can be used against America if you really want to come down to that. So it's about time for us to continue to get back to basics in terms of education, in terms of understanding that global peace may not be possible in the concept that we think about it, but we can certainly uh, have our vote be counted to say, I'm against that. We stand against that. And I'll continue to try to influence and educate other people to stand up against that kind of tyranny, because it is a form of tyranny when somebody can go and say, well, I'm going to go to war, and they can. In fact, they were talking about it one time, reestablishing the draft. You know what the draft was, right?
Mhm.
When they used to be, when you became 18, they could draft you into the military, whether you wanted to go or not. And they stopped that, I think, somewhere during the late 60s or something. And they were talking about reestablishing that because they didn't have enough people to fight. And so that's why they start offering all of these different kinds of programs where you can go to school and you can do this and you can do that if you sign up. But the reality of it is that you have to ask yourself, is it worth it for you to allow your children to go in and be sacrificed because these people need to make money? Because no matter how you look at it, uh, these entities, these wars, make lots of money for lots of different groups. The same way when it was in Iraq, they had the what they call the Blackwater, and the vice president even owned companies in Iraq that was, contributing to that war, and they was making money off of that war that they voted to go in and fight in, and we have no say so in it. And the people that we choose to represent us, they don't represent us because they say they represent us, but when it comes down to it, if their vote jeopardizes their position in Congress or the Senate or as a mayor or as a governor, if their vote jeopardizes that, they're 9 times out of 10, they're going to go with the system. They're going to continue the system going the same way that Obama and all the rest of them do. People talk about a black president. Well, Obama was subjected to the same rules and regulations that those guys were. And he knew that there were certain things that he was going to have to do that he didn't want to do in order to establish this. I don't know what you would call it. For me, it was just like a movie. We have a black president. Well, that doesn't help the person that's sleeping on the street in Los Angeles. That doesn't help the person that's hungry in New York City, sleeping in the cold. Yeah, it's nice to have a black president if you want to look at it from that standpoint. But what is he doing for the people? What is his process? How is he changing the system so that it's be beneficial to all of its citizens? And so, we have to look at things from that is the global perspective. How does it, how does it get reinterpreted to the people who need the help the most?
Mm.
How does it help those people? And at this point, uh, yeah, global peace. Uh, I'm not so. I'm not so. What you would call. I'm not thinking that that's a possibility. I think it's a possibility for inner peace, that you've done all you can to bring about peace,
Mhm.
and to let that be the cornerstone in your process in terms of how you share with other people. But global peace, unless we're going to tear down all of the systems. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are afraid of. Well, that's why they tell you, if you hate America so much, why don't you leave America? Well, the reality of it is that we cannot achieve the goals that we have in our hearts and in our minds by supporting a country, no matter whether it's America, Germany, Russia, whatever it is. We can't achieve the goals by supporting systems that we know are corrupt. They have brought about all of these things that are detrimental to the well-being of humanity.
Mm.
It's not like these people were doing all these great things to bring about change. It seems that they do what they have to do to maintain the status quo. We have to move beyond that in our thinking, because if we don't, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. Somebody told me yesterday, well, if you don't like it, you need to vote for somebody else. I said, vote for who? Who am I going to vote for that's going to change the dynamic that I have to live under? Who's going to do that? Up to this point, nobody's done it. I'm 80 years old and nobody has done it. So I don't think anybody's going to do it before I leave this planet, but that's the reality that we live in. But it doesn't mean that I can't have peace. It doesn't mean that I don't have faith in the spiritual nature of who we are. It doesn't mean that I don't want the best thing for my children, and I certainly want them to be knowledgeable enough to abstain from participating in their own detriment. And they can only happen through real education, real knowledge, and real exposure to people who continue to magnify that position. Yes.
Yes, thank you so very much, Rev. I think you're very, very correct on that. And that's the reason why we are having this conversation. I want to thank all those of you that are just joining. And yes, even though we had so much challenge in the past days, like you're saying, Rev, it's a war. It's a continuous war in which the world wants to see us act in a particular way and be a part of the system. You have to toe the lines. If you go out of the lines, it's either you're abusing community standards or you're saying something that you shouldn't be saying, whether it's wrong or right. So it is absolutely difficult in a moment like this to say we can achieve a global peace, global life. We want to, like America and all the systems of the world, have to sit down and make a world a better place through the kind of actions that they are doing. But like you were saying, it is possible when we collectively, as a race of people, individually, starting from an individualistic point of view, it is so possible to do it, to achieve an inner peace based on the simplicity and the way you deal with life, the way you see life, the way you consume, the way you react, the decisions you make. That is not going to be a point where it's on a do or die. Now, we just saw even last days, in the last couple of days, a whole thousands of people marching in the streets in the UK, advocating against, vaccines or what. And we see also people coming up to say, yes, but the non-vaccinated matter. And even though they are a close or smaller portion of people, it is still a way to understand that there would be no general rule that is applicable in any circumstances in life to the general public or to humanity as a whole. So if you're joining the show, we are talking about the global peace. Is it possible that the world can be at peace and normalcy again? We're talking about the conflicts and wars on the continent of Africa. We're talking about the systematic racism that humanity is facing, particularly the African everywhere. We're talking about the killings, the murder, the marginalization, whatever, right? Even the systems that we live in, the processes that is must some kind of like looks subtle, but it's a one way. I want to come back to what you said, Ref, when you said, and the moment it's not like you even challenge. The moment you have another opinion, it is like an attack. It's a threat, even
Yeah.
from your closest, even from your inner circle.
Oh,
You
yes.
become already a victim to the system. We hear that every day in Germany. If you want to talk about anything and hold a straight conversation, just a straight conversation, historical facts about things that they themselves did and they're still doing, and it's documented, then it's going to be like, yeah, if you don't like Germany, why don't you go back to Africa? And you ask yourself one day, like, so all the expatriates that are coming, or companies or whoever they call themselves on the continent of Africa, what are they doing there if really, truly, it's all about help? So we cannot live in a world where each and another person will question, you don't have a right to talk because you are not in that space. So if you want to question, why don't you be there? People don't know how to even hold straight conversations anymore. They don't even know how to
Well,
face facts and reality.
a lot of that has to do with the whole racial aspect of what it is. Because I talk to people and I refer people to John Jackson's book, Man, God, and Civilization. And I talk about the passages in there where thousands of years there was peace and there was no wars on the continent of Africa. And so when I said, well, why don't we, research this and find out what interaction did they do to make that possible?
Mhm.
People in their mind, they say, well, that's racism. Racism, uh, like Africa can't be the front runner or the leader in the world to bring about world peace. It has to be the Europeans. It's like they have this concept that they've created everything. We built the pyramids. We brought all of these things together. And history tells you that they did none of those things, but yet and still they continue to try to promote themselves off as the leader and the most knowledgeable, the most educated, the most intelligent people on the planet.
Mhm.
Well, all scientific data says different. So therefore, when I say or you say things like, I tell people all the time, I said there won't be world peace until Africa, re, retrieves its rightful place in the world.
Mhm.
Right away, that's viewed as you're a racist if you don't like America, you don't like Germany, you don't like wherever you are.
Mhm.
And I said it has nothing to do with that. But right now we're failing. The United States is failing. Germany is failing. Russia is failing. China is failing because they have not been able to come together, not even with all their summits. They come together with these summits where they meet and they never achieve anything that amounts to world peace or changing the philosophy from which they operate that will bring about more harmony and uniformity among the groups of people.
Mm.
In fact, if anything, they capitalized on it. China was sort of and say, "Well, America, how dare you to come over here and challenge us on human rights when you treat Africans this way?" Or some other country, "Well, how dare you challenge us on human rights, when you treat your people like this?" So they're in a constant battle of almost like who can do the worst stuff and get away with it. The one don't have the ability to challenge the other. Well, what is the purpose of the United Nations? What is the purpose of those summits that they have every year where they come together to discuss global prosperity and how they're going to feed the hungry and how they're going to take care of all of its people? What is the purpose of those things? And for me, I tell people this: that if you want to continue to be guided by the misinformed, informative information, or would you rather be guided by your spirit that tells you that that's right, that's wrong, and you need to follow that, and there's a consequence that has to be paid for that, because in trying to work in these systems, I know personally myself and some other people that I've worked with, we've had difficult times trying to stay attached to those systems, because the minute that we speak up and draw attention to ourselves, they try to find a way to get us out. You know,
Mhm.
I worked for an organization for like 17 years in Oakland, and they knew that I was doing a quality service. I was doing a quality job, but they show you how they do stuff. They hired a black woman, put her in a position to bring her in there to get me out of there because they couldn't control me. And I told the sister, I said, you should be ashamed of yourself to allow yourself to be used to come in and do their dirty work. They didn't have the guts to come and confront me and give me a letter saying that they no longer needed me. They hired this sister and had her to do it. And this is what happens to us in America when we speak up, or when we stand up and say, this is right, this is wrong, and I'm not going to participate in it. So, you're to be commended, all of you, Professor Smalls, everybody who comes on Africa TV, to be commended, because I know I go through every day. As soon as I finish with you, I have a meeting to go to, and I know in that meeting that there will be people who do not like me speak up, because they know that I'm going to be coming from a perspective of a reunification of African people all over the globe, and they don't want to hear that, because to them that sounds like he doesn't like America, and that's their takeaway. And I said, I just want to make it better. I don't want my kids to, I don't want to have to teach my grandkids to, you got to act a certain way to keep the police from killing you. I don't want my kids to have to go out here and experience this discrimination and this racism that they have to experience. And they do have to do it. If they go out in this system somewhere, it's going to be inflicted on them. In fact, my oldest son, when he was in high school, we live in this so-called liberal community. And when he graduated and he went to the graduation party, and they told him that there was no niggers allowed, because it was a predominantly, white school. And he had never experienced nothing like that. He came home crying. I never seen him cry. And I had to sit down and give him the reality of what's going on in America, and let him know that, hey, you don't have to stand for that. This is who they are, and ever since then he's uh, incorporated himself into studying and learning about how this system works and fighting against it and understanding that there's nothing wrong with him. There's something wrong with the people who approach him with that kind of dynamic. Because a lot of people think that they can escape through education. And it doesn't matter if you got a PhD, as Malcolm X used to say, you're just a PhD, a nigger with a PhD. If you're driving, if you're driving at night and the police pull you over, they're not asking you if you have a PhD or a master's degree. They see who you are. They see your skin. And that's what they operate off of. That is the fear. We instill fear into them because of how they have manipulated the planet and how they have treated our people all over the globe. So automatically they think that at some point in time there's going to be retribution. Is what they're thinking. And in fact, one of the things when the slaves was freed, one of the things they would start to implement was gun control. That's what gun control originated from. They said, okay, we're going to free these slaves, but we got to find a way to stop them from getting weapons. And so now gun control became the crying thing that all white people thought if black people get guns, even though they have a Second Amendment that says you have a right to bear arms, the objective was to stop African people from having guns. And so we have to understand that these people are living in a state of constant fear. That's why they're afraid of 1619 Project. That's why they're afraid of critical race theory, because they know that if their children learn the truth, that some of them are going to be influenced by the truth. And there where the change will start to take place from a global standpoint. Because you have a lot of, one thing, you have a lot of young people who are coming out now, and black and white in America, who are coming out and fighting for Black Lives Matter and all these different things. But the more people know, the more they're going to respond. And they don't want the truth taught, because if the truth is taught to the students, it would be almost impossible that there's a certain percentage of those students are going to say, hey, wait a minute, this is not the right way to do things. This is not a system I want to participate in. And they're afraid of that, because already they've already projected that in the next 20 or 30 years that the minorities will be outnumber of white people in America. And the last thing they want to do is to re-educate their own children to what they have done and how they have manipulated and abused people, because they, if you're going to lose, if you're going to have all these different groups here, and then some of your own people are going to join those people. That's what created the civil rights movement during the 60s, was when everybody came together and they started to make some changes. But the thing about it is people got sold a bill of goods in terms of what was going to take place and how things were supposed to change. But they did not change. They changed, but only to another dimension. The racism still exists. You still had a difficult time getting jobs. You still had a difficult time getting union. You still had a difficult time moving into certain neighborhoods. You still had a difficult time getting loans from banks. You still had a difficult time getting you into certain schools. And so, what did it do? It shedded light on it, but it did not change much. And they bought off certain politicians so that they were able to sell people a bill of goods. And Malcolm X talked about this. How about all these so-called leaders out here supposedly speaking for us, but they're being paid to keep us calm, to keep us subdued, so that we don't create an uprising. And it's the battle goes on, Dr. Tata. The battle will never it will not end in my lifetime. You know, global peace possible theoretically, in actuality, not so much. I think that we will find peace in the work that we do and the continuous cooperation that we do with each other globally to bring that about, and then eventually it will have a cumulative effect that they will realize that they're going to have to make gradual changes. And I think that they will. They will make gradual changes to deal with the reality of us coming together and really, organizing at a level where, once we become even more global in our thinking process, the way that Marcus Garvey and them intended, once we become more global like that, then they're going to say, okay, what changes can we make to slow down this process? The same way they did with the civil rights movement. What can we give them right now that we get them out of the streets? Because they were literally burning down cities during the 60s. And there was continuous battles going on. So they paid off a few people, gave a few people money, let some people into college. And so the thing subdued. The 80s, they put all of the drugs in the streets, which destroyed the Black Panther Party for the most part, because, they infiltrated. And so we have to be conscious that whenever the enemy, and I call them the enemy, and not because I'm looking to create an enemy, but when we are dealing with the enemy, we have to understand that when they give something, we have to question what is behind that gift.
Correct.
What's behind that gift? Because then if they were doing it out of the goodness of their heart or the spirit of who they are as their contribution to humanity, be one thing. They wouldn't have to wait on a riot. They wouldn't have to wait on the police to kill people. They would do it right now. They would do it at these summits. They would do it at the United Nations and sit down and say, look, these people need to have their just due. People who own this land, people who were here before they came here, all but wiped them out. And if they really truly believed that that was wrong, they would do something about it. But
Mhm.
they believe that they have a right, and so they believe in war. We don't believe in war. It is not our nature to believe in war. And that is the reason why they capitalize on it, because they have us believing that war is necessary. And I submit to that John J. Jackson said war is not necessarily. For 40,000 years, there was not wars on the continent of Africa. So if
Mhm.
it was necessary, why didn't they have wars? We
Mhm.
have a lot of different groups there, different languages, different people, all African. But here, war is like it's almost like going to school. It's necessary. You have to go to school, get education. You have to be at war because we have to maintain this so-called great American experiment that we've implemented.
It is very interesting. I mean, the conversation today on the Global Peace Walk is our Peace Week on the Pan African Daily TV is about how can we achieve an inner peace, to make the world a better place, to make our race a better place, to make our people a better place, to make our communities, to make humanity a better place. Um, you have touched so much on this, the relevance of it is just not possible if we look at it from let me say, a cosmetic world that we're living in now, perspective. But if we go deep into a spirituality of who we Africans are, it is so possible because it had been possible and it is doable. If
mm,
we just step back, pull out from this illusions that we live in, it is of course possible because, like you said, we never had all these global wars. How did we even find ourselves here? We never had that kind of a good history, like, the Europeans migrating to the US, or to the UK, or we never saw the Titanic in the African history. It's just the opposite. The Titanic that we saw carrying European migrants over to UK and over, our own Titanic was the ones that they were murdered and dumped into the ocean, and gave no option even of choice. But this one, we saw them with suitcase, with families, well dressed. They had time to make tea parties, even offshore or onshore. And we never had that kind of luxury, but we've never looked at it from these both perspectives. The ship that was carrying the enslaved and the ship that was transporting the European migrants across, right? And so
mm,
these are two perspectives that makes us actually understand which borderlines we are on, and exactly how do we even come to think that in a systematic, in a system that is made to be, that we can achieve that peace from what is designed and put on the table. But I can assure you that something is definitely still happening, because I have um, something that just dropped in now, and that was why I was looking at it, because very interesting. The first African CARICOM summit, the first ever in the historical
mm,
event of Africa and Caribbean. And now
mm,
we have been talking about this connection of the Africa Union abandoning its diaspora and all these talks and awakening. And I think definitely we also knew that it wasn't dropping on just empty ears. We keep
mm,
saying, yes, make the noise, make it organized, and continue, like you said, consistency. You've been on the journey, educating and having these conversations for a couple of decades. I can imagine if you're giving all this history, working with families, trying to put them on track. Exactly when this whole thing exploded, we also got on board, each and everyone in their different perspective, talking about the unity of Africa, and that is now. Now, you mentioned something, and that is very important. Why I want to bring out this very important announcement and this summit that is coming up, that they want to silence the truth. But
mm,
how much, how far, if it is not a crazy system and an illusion that we're living in as humans beings, to think that you can, as an individual, even as a bunch of a small number of people, decide whether to silence the truth or not. We know about the principles of Ma'at. We
mm,
know about even the balance of the universe. How
right.
possible? People like us that pass on every day on daily basis, be it at war, even just be it asleep. Even when you're just sleeping, you're not sure you're going to make it the next day. And you define the process of truth. I mean,
Mm,
that must be some deep courage out there. And that is exactly the trick where we're coming to. So the inner peace would come from you, how you relate to your creator, to humanity, to nature. It's not going to be defined by any system or rule of nature. If
right.
all of us could go back to our spirituality and begin to put those values that our ancestors, our forefathers lived on, the values of peace, even for global peace, people who are actually peace activists know what they want in their heart. But the systems that are putting everything to disunite us, to keep us dysfunctional, they also love that peace. Come on, give me a break. They also love it, they like it, they envy it. And exactly like you said, they fear the threat of competition. That, okay, now the Africans are rising up and say, we want to unite. You like it or not, we are going to do it at some point in time, because that's the truth. That's what the creator created us to be. So you can't even stop it, right? Right
Right.
now, it's stoppable. Now we hear this conference coming up, this summit, for the first time in the history of the Africans. And guess what? I just go through who are the participants. The participants of this summit would be head of state of the African government, such as
Mhm.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Prime Minister Mia Amo Motley, because it's going to take place in the Caribbean. We
Mhm.
have President Nana Akufo-Addo. We have Prime Minister Gaston Browne, President Cyril Ramaphosa. We have Prime Minister Keith Rowley, President Paul Kagame, Prime Ministers Rav Conclaves, and John Bresino, among others. I mean, the summit will also benefit from the input of the new Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, and the chair of the Africa Union, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat. I mean, this and look, the idea or the initiative. This is very very interesting, and I love this. And it is anticipated that these deliberations will lead to multiple initiatives of unity, collaboration, institution building, and people to people exchanges between Africa and the Caribbean. This is truly an historic event that masses of our Caribbean and African people must fully share and participate. This summit is scheduled to take place next week, 7th of September, and we'll be giving you a lot of information. I just got it. This is signed and sent today by Mr. David Commission, Barbados ambassador to CARICOM. Now, what can
Okay.
you talk about this energy for the first time in history? That something is going to
Well,
happen like this from the leaders of the continent?
yeah, well, and that's great, because one of the things that took place, I don't know if you remember, but when Malcolm X went to Mecca and went to Africa, for the first time in history, he met with leaders and kings and different countries in Africa. That's when he became a major threat to the United States. That's when he made the statement that he was going to file a suit against the United States at the United Nations for his treatment of African people.
Mhm.
That's why Malcolm X was murdered. And so it is great that they have coming together as a group, the leaders, and out of that, hopefully, and that will become some answers or some remedies for how we continue this global recuperation of our people. And
Correct.
yes, so that's what I hope that comes out of that. I know that you and I and all of us here at Daily TV, we need to continue to work. We need to continue to work. I was on the radio last night talking with people about the work, and I'm supposed to be on another show Saturday. I've been invited to be on it, and now I'm getting more and more invitations to come out and speak about this. So that means that people want to hear that there is an alternative version of who we are as a people. And because I'm talking about the reunification of Africa, I'm not
Mhm.
talking about hating white people. I'm talking about loving black people. I'm talking about loving Africans. And I think that's coming forth. And I hope that out of this conference that hopefully that will be the focal point. And I think that if we incorporate that knowledge about the spiritual nature of African people in the process of these meetings, that we can't help but be successful.
Correct.
And I am not giving up. I believe that global peace is possible, but I believe it'll only take place when Africa reunites. Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yes. 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 So
It's
yeah.
happening.
Yes.
We are happy. We are absolutely grateful about this information. For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, dear family, you're hearing that the first ever Africa Curriculum Summit is going to take place in just a week, just on Tuesday. This Tuesday, the 7th. I mean, it's the day of the school. Back to school here in Europe and maybe on the continent. But of course, just imagine for a moment that for the past decade, first in its history, will have to have presidents and decision makers on the continent travel to the Caribbean, hold the summit. I mean, in the past, we hear about Africa Russia summit, Africa German summit, Africa UK, Africa Europe, Africa what. But we've never in the history of the Africans heard about this kind of a summit. I think I'll be reaching out to this commissioner, this ambassador, actually, to have him on the Pan African Daily TV if we will have such privilege to share this knowledge, because for me, this is one of the groundbreaking news that we're receiving in this Global Peace Week, and it is reaching our decks directly sent to us also out there. So, but who are we going to be entertaining or having as conversations for this Global Peace Week? We're just having it up to Monday or Tuesday, depending on the participation. Today, we're having Reverend Dr. Kweku, who is actually the right person to have opened these conversations on peace. Is it possible? How can we achieve global peace for a better place? How can we collectively focus on our unification agenda and the love and the principles of who we are to achieve this global peace? Yes, it is in our best interest as Africans to contribute in our very, very minimal way, like Reverend Doctor said, starting even from the home. Every little step that you make contributes to global peace, depending on how you change your mindset, depending on how you even have the knowledge of you, who you are. So tomorrow we're going to be having King Bongane, who is going to be our guest. We missed him last week, and there were a lot of, I don't know, it's okay, it's over. That's the past. That was August. Today we're talking about the 1st of September, and that is why we open up the day for Global Peace Week, and nothing is going to shut us down. Like you said, Reverend, nothing is going to stop our work. On Friday, unfortunately, I had already announced that we're going to have Dr. Elaine Ferguson. Unfortunately, I just got a short message now that she would not be able to attend. She's busy on Friday. Fine. So we're going to look for another guest speaker that would be on that topic. But on Saturday, we're going to have Professor James Moore. He personally confirmed it to me in a short conversation with him before the show that he's going to be live with us on Saturday. He cannot miss this Global Peace Week because it is very essential and relevant to us as a people. And it is one of the fundamentals. What tricks we need to know, just like Reverend Dr. Niinana, who is, a collaborator or a brother of Professor James Small, and whom was referred to us by Professor James Small on this conversation. So we want to thank you so very much, Rev, for being here. We still have a couple of time to spend with you here before you leave us. Now, when you see this time coming up, like you said, we're constantly at war, particularly on the Pan-African Daily TV. In the last month, it's really been a war. Yes, yeah. We don't go out to wash our dirty linings on the public, no matter what, but we are serious. I want to encourage all of you followers and viewers, do not be encouraged about all the technical setups. 2 days ago, we wanted to come live and there was no volume. Last week, we were blocked off or they pulled out our videos and stuff like that. Yes, that's exactly the point where Reverend Doctor is saying it's some kind of fear. Anything they just see your face or they see us come live, oh, what are they going to be talking again now? What are they going to be teaching about? What are they going to be learning? That we should not be letting this happening. So it is actually a process and we should not give up. Click your notification bells, sign in shortly, anytime that we go live. If you were not able to, or you missed any of the episode, please just go back. We are available on the platform. Share the video extensively. And I want to thank a lot of you that has been subscribing. We're almost approaching 27,000. Can you imagine this? Exactly, the work is on. And now we're still seeing the fruit. The first African CARICOM Summit, and more and more and more is going to come. So keep up the good work. We are all together. Thank you so very much, Rev. Back to you in studio. What is the way forward?
Well, the way forward is to continue exactly what we've been doing in terms of getting the message out there, maintaining your faith and your spiritual prowess, in terms of what what are you trying to achieve. Our success is based on the reunification of our people in Africa. That
Mm.
is that is the goal. That is the only thing that we will accept. We will not accept defeat when it comes to that. And so we have to continue doing what we're doing, continue to educate, continue to be a model wherever we are in terms of presenting uh, a united African front in spite of all of the people that's going to come against us, because they're going to come. And I've been around long enough to know that they are not always from the other race. They are, a lot of them come from our own people, and
Absolute.
I
That's
just see
even
them.
just the craziest thing.
Yeah, I just see them as misguided, uneducated, unwilling to look at reality, and so I just keep it moving. And I think it was John Clark, Dr. Clark, who said, "It's a fool who continues to debate people who are unintellectual. They don't have the capacity to be intellectual about their own well-being." And so when I see them there, you leave them where they are and you keep it moving. We continue to do daily TV, African daily TV. I continue to do radio shows at 3 or 4 different stations. And wherever I am working at, whether it's with a family, an individual, with a group, they're going to know what I stand for. I stand for Africa, and I know that Africa stands for me, and I stand for spirituality versus uh, religion. Because people, they're quick to start quoting scriptures, and I have to tell them, look, you need to look behind the scriptures. You need to find out how those scriptures were created. You need to study, and so that's what we have to do. We have to encourage people to lay those things aside and say, look here, there's more. It's just like if you go out into space, we don't know what's all out there. We only know what we can see. The more we explore, the more we find. And every day the scientists are claiming that we found this, we found another star, we found another. Well, the more we research, the more we will learn about who we are as a people. And I think that if we do that, then global peace will start to matriculate itself into our thinking process, where we can believe it and where we can accept it and where we are willing to give our all to make it a reality. So yes, thank you once again for allowing me to come on the show here. I'm always happy to be a part of anything that has to do with the reunification of our people. I love having the opportunity to sit down and talk with our people and discuss where we're going to go from here. What can I do to help you? How can you support me? I would do anything to help Africa Daily TV to move the message forward so that people will understand that, we have a real opportunity. We have an opportunity to do what the ancestors would want us to be doing.
Correct.
And yes,
Correct.
yes.
So, which radio shows are you doing? Probably there are people that are watching you here, or that would consequently be watching this show. Where you actually operating? Where can people get you apart from, like, you know?
Well,
in the host-
I'm working with a black owned radio stations out of Berkeley. It's called T25CL Entertainment. It's an entertainment company. And I do a show on Tuesday nights here. I don't know what time it is. There's 7:30 on Tuesday nights, called The Mothership. And I will send you the information to that. But I'm also doing another show out of New York City with on Sirius Radio,
Mhm.
and which is information I'll have to send to you because I don't have it right here in front of me. But uh, and somebody else says, people are just calling me, asking me to be on their shows, because I think that at last, all of the work and all of the study is paying off. That people saying, wait a minute, I want to hear what's going on. I want to know more.
Yeah.
I like to incorporate more of this into my own personal well-being, because I'm just a person that I try to bring a message of this: the suffering is over. Now it's
Mhm.
time for us to get busy and do the work. You can't sit back and suffer and complain. You have to get up and get better. You have to,
Mhm.
and the way you heal is through accessing information and standing up for what you believe, because that is the healing. The healing of African people all over will take place once we realize that we're one, and we are against the world. And the world needs to understand that we are not going to roll over and allow the continued oppression, degradation of our people. We're going to fight back. So when you talk about war and peace, well, there has to be war before there's peace, and
Mm.
we're fighting for the peace of Africa and African people globally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you have another program. I don't know if you still have maybe some 5 minutes to spare with us. I'm opening up the lines for those that have comments and or feedback, or you want to ask questions directly before Reverend Dr. Niinana will leave us. It will be a pleasure and for you to call now. Use our WhatsApp number as usual, +49 15782112379. I already see a caller coming in. Please, Prof, just hold on there, Rev. We have callers coming in for you. Hello. Brother, can you turn off your volume? We already picked up your call, and the Reverend is waiting.
Is it me you're talking to, Susan?
I'm talking to you because you want to talk to us. Turn off the other video.
Okay, all right. I'll move away. Okay, greetings, good evening. Susan, I'm so happy. I feel my head is so light right now to hear that this summit is going to take place. Do you know which Caribbean island it will be taking place in?
Exactly.
Yeah, I listened to...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I listened to some of the name you call out. I recognize Mia Motley and the ambassador, but I was listening to see if I hear my prime minister name called. But anyway, yeah, it's very enlightening. I feel so... I don't know how to describe my feelings, Susan, but I'm happy to hear that this is taking place. And I just want to let the Reverend know I'm calling from a small island. Take it to Nevis if he's listening. I'm happy to be part of this program. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the summit, Susan. I just want to also mention you were on with King Bogoni a couple of days back, and there was no sound coming through.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying, that even from our side, we didn't even just know what happened. The sound just disappeared. But he's coming live tomorrow. Yeah. He would be back tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And you know, we know we're using their platform and all that. So yeah, things like this would happen. So I'm happy to hear that the Reverend is saying nothing can stop it. It's what I'm saying here. What was as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end.
Ashe.
Susan, thank you for hearing me.
Hotep, thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Yes. Good. Like, they're following you up from from the islands of the Caribbean. That's how huge our reach out is, and people watching you from the continent, from Europe, from UK, from America, where you're sitting, from the Caribbean islands, Barbados, and all that. So, I mean, it is, like you said, a privilege. We are privileged right now, right?
Yes, it is absolutely a privilege to be an instrument for the good of the universe, for our people. I mean, what greater task could you have except to make life better for people all over the world? Because when things are great for African people globally, things will be great for everybody. And I do hope that one day, that even those other groups will start to realize that Africa is the way forward. Yes, Africa is the way forward. If we want to save the planet, we must rejuvenate and recuperate African thought, African spirituality. Yes.
Ashe. Thank you. There's no way to describe that There is no global peace where Africa doesn't sit on the table. Africa is the brainchild of the creation and the creator, the cradle of humanity. How can there be peace when this child mourns and weeps and is tortured and murdered and is exploited, is raped, incarcerated, prostituted? How can this brainchild of the creator, the mother of the planet, the mother, the cradle of all humanity, how can there be peace when she keeps mourning, when she keeps bleeding? So there's nothing, no matter anyhow that they can prepare any agenda, whether they wipe us all today, there would be no global peace until Mother Africa stops bleeding.
That's
Yes.
right. No global peace until Africa is free. Free. Ashe.
Ashe, Ashe. Thank you, Reverend. I mean, when are you coming back again on the show? I mean, we have this global week, but anytime we'll get back to you, like you say, you're available and you're really in this family and spirituality. We want to get more of it because that is the essential for us to achieve a global peace, particularly us Africans to be at peace with ourselves.
Well, I can be available Friday. Yeah, I'll be available Friday morning if you guys gonna be on.
All right. So if we don't, yes, I would make sure that you come on, even if we're going to get a guest in the afternoon.
Even if you have a guest, you'd like to come on and share with them and hear what they have to say. But Friday morning, just send me the link and we're ready to go.
Wonderful. Friday morning. What is morning at your time? This same time, right?
7 o'clock, right? Yes.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Rev. We bless you out there with the family. Please take our greetings from the Pan African Daily TV family back home to every corner that you would be. And on the radio, tell them our regards and much respect for your work as we continue to do it even after life. Thank you so very much for being here.
I've been telling folks about African Daily TV. So we any way that we can get the tentacles of our expression out there, I will be a part of that. In fact, I'm going to talk about it on the radio tonight, tomorrow, and I'll come back on with you guys Friday. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Rev. And we see us on Friday. Yes.
All right. Take care. Have a blessed day.
Yes. Bye. Good people. We are not closing the show. I'm leaving the lines open for all feedbacks and recommendations and what you think about this upcoming First Africa CARICOM Summit taking place next week, September 7th. Time and place and I don't know. The headline or the initial program, we haven't have it, but it would be in our interest to have, the organizer of this conference give us more light if we are lucky to have one of them. If not, we're still going to get it through the press release and we'll share it here and we will all call on each and every African worldwide to participate in this very, very serious historic event that is coming up. But like I said, we just started the Global Peace Week on the Pan African Daily TV, and it's going to run up the whole week, even up to Monday, even up to next week. Remember, we've been pretty much like, almost shutting down. And a lot of people were so worried, like, hey, Dr. Susan, what's happening? Sometimes you come live, sometimes not. Sometimes we don't receive newsletters. What is going on? Yes, we've actually been at this war that Reverend is talking about. It's been hard. But yes, we are not losing. So even when we are not live here, we're busy with the community. I post and I share where we are acting. It's either we're having community meetings or we're educating children somewhere. So there's always something to do. If you don't see my face on the Pan African Daily because of one reason or the other, be assured I am involved in teaching the community or just having, a one-on-one meeting with ourselves. So teaching is very relevant. Not teaching because you know everything. When I say teaching, it's like having these conversations, waking up our people. You cannot imagine how many are still on a walking. You can't imagine. I mean, sometimes we think, we have viewers, we have subscribers, we have followers, 1 point something million, billions of people following us. We have other content creators and providers that are being on the trail all the time, some getting together, putting up, structures together, and you think that, oh, we are there. No, I used to also be fooled like that. I used to also think that, wow, now we are approaching even 30,000 subscribers. So it means our message is really getting through. I mean, this is only on YouTube. I'm not talking about our Facebook pages and other platforms. So we're reaching at least 100,000 people each time that we come live. It's proven, it's there. But how many people are we on the planet? So if you look at even the reach out that we keep saying, you see, content creators or followers, or even, Pan-African activists say, no, we are there now. We are woke. The message is going through. People, I can guarantee you, when I talk to the public, I talk to the communities, I talk to the families, a lot of them don't even know. They have no clue. I mean, they don't even know that Pan-African Daily TV exists. Talk less of other shows and other programs that is talking about the Pan-African agenda and the awakening of the Africans that we are connecting. Some of them don't even have an idea whether we're reaching out to our brothers in the Caribbean or in the US or in the diaspora. A lot is still asleep. Even though we're doing it, we've been doing it every day. We sit here, we bring how many productions we've made? More than 1,000 in less than a year. Yes, some are actually awoke, but it's just, I don't know, we can't even say a percentage. Because if you look at the global figure, how many of us are there? There's just too much work to do. So it is not only getting this information here, it is also pulling back sometimes, getting back to the community to get a kind of a check, track down how many do we reach out there, how many get our newsletters, how many follow up the conversations. If they're not watching the Pan-African Daily TV, what is it that they are watching? If they're not following our daily conversations, which other programs is interesting to them? Now, we made a kind of a survey, and we're saying that why is it that if we were talking about some other things that are not even relevant to our unity here on the Pan-African Daily, I bet we would be having at least 1K viewers just in an hour. So what are the topics that we need to focus on? I know it's hard, like the Reverend Doctor said, anything that has to do with Africa, if you're teaching, awakening, spirituality, culture, knowledge, history, it is the most hardest work to do. But it's not even the hardest work to do to non-Africans, but it's even more hard to do with Africans. And that is how much damage we have been away from our reality, from our consciousness. That is how far deep we are asleep. That is how much we are disconnected from our reality, from our spirit and our physical. There is a total disconnection in us. And so you see the gap gets wider and wider. It is also not to say that we are not getting there. Incidents or like, summits like this that are coming up for the first time, I can guarantee you that without our advocacy, our voices, particularly in this period, last year and now when the awakening broke up, I don't think we ever would have seen something like this. This is not on any agenda or had been, but there was no period that was convenient to have come up to this. So we're going to get into details of this. It also means that, yes, all our work has not been in vain. So we have to put more power. We have to inject more energy. We have to connect more often. I want to thank you and congratulate Pan-African Daily TV fans and followers and family. It is very, very important for me to say this again and again and again. I can say it with every humility that we're the fastest growing in this category of Pan-African Daily conversations. Yeah. And I can say confidently that no other platform in this short time has been able to host the kind of quality expertise, the intelligence, particularly from the diaspora and the continent, connecting both. I can humbly say that. And I want to thank the team that has been putting out this work out there. I'm only the face and the mouth here bringing out these stories, but you that have been clicking, liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting in the chat, motivating, I mean, anything, moderating the conversations as the guests come on, you are actually the backbone of the Pan African Daily TV. So contributions are currently going on, but also spiritual contributions like what we are doing. And this is the most critical and the essential part of our work, which I love. The best thing is the Pan African Daily is still looking forward to volunteers. When I say volunteers, who are those people like you that are out to say, you know what? It is about selfless volunteering. Selfless volunteering. I like and I thank people that come to support our work financially, because some people have to do their work, bring in money, it's necessary. But most of the people do the work just being here and saying, thank you for being here, Professor. Thank you for being on our show. Thank you. We are listening to you. We are viewing you, and the numbers that are coming in to watch this show after. That is what we call selfless volunteering. How many people are still out there that would sacrifice and work for the marginalized? And we are all marginalized in any case. A Black man, whether on the planet or in the continent or in an office, whether a governor or whatever, a minister, we all marginalized. We all know it. So there is none that is free, none that is happy. You can just be happy for a moment because you say, oh, I'm working in the public sector and I make these rules and I do this or whatever. And so what? Are you truly happy? Are you truly happy when you alone are living in that comfortable space, in that bungalow? You drive fancy cars. We ride. We're not against that. But are you truly comfortable when you see your brother next to you not being able to breathe because his rights are taken away for obvious reasons? You can never be comfortable. That's why the Global Peace Week is here just to remind us that each and everyone has a contribution to make for the world to be a better place, particularly for Africa to be a better place for all of us and our children. So whatever contribution you're making, it is very essential. Even just listening, it's a contribution. Because it's not only about listening. A lot of people must not do interpersonal communication. We know about body language. We know about even speeches. We know about just listening, right? So I thank you all for your enormous support and the patience. I was so frustrated on the past show when I saw the comments, the calls coming in. There is no volume. There is no volume. For us in the studio, everything was fine. It was good. The volume was okay. We could hear each other. We could communicate. We could laugh. But out of a sudden, that's one of the reasons why when I keep looking at my phone is because I keep controlling the checks. But on that day, unfortunately, even though it was a reverse cut, I did not. And before I know it, the thousands of calls. You know what? For me, it was not a matter of the volume. It was a matter of the attention that we are all getting. It was like, I felt like something was happening behind King Bongane. Someone was about to shut him, and everybody was like, watch out, watch out, watch out, look at your back, watch your back. Or it was like somebody was choking up, Dr. Susan. Everybody was like, Susan, hey, watch up, wake up, Amy, what is going on? That is exactly the feeling I had. And then I began to say, wow, our ancestors are awake and alive. The God of Africa in creation and humanity is alive. They're all watching over us. We were there. It's just like a child playing and the house is on fire. He doesn't know it. Comfortable playing in ignorance, and people are like screaming all around you. That is the attention that we're talking about. And that's the spirituality. That's the unity. Do not think unity has to mean that all of us would have to gather at one spot or to relocate to the continent or to sit at a table like this Africa CARICOM summit that is coming up for our unity to work out. This is just another tool, and a very small one. I can guarantee you. No matter how excited we are, the biggest tool is what we're doing here. It's what we pay attention to one another, watching each other's back. Are you okay? No, we can hear because the message was so good. Because you saw us struggling, but there was no sound coming out. What is it that was happening? And you could see is the same story. When we saw our brother, most of them that are drowning and people are calling. It's like the ancestors were like, hey, watch out, pay attention. Something is going wrong. It is a wake up. So a lot of incidences that are happening here, call it whatever, technical, call it whatever setback, call it whatever thing that is happening or agenda, but I can guarantee you that every second we must learn from this. And everything that happens gives us a message, sends us a correct message. For me, that message on what happened on that past show with King Bong, and I was just telling you, we are watching over you. We are right there with you. And these ancestors that we're talking about is implicated, is multiplied in our DNAs. It is us that is watching, and the voices and their spirit are connecting us to make us stay focused, pay attention, watch on each another, call up, wake one another up, pull each other into the circle. How much more can we be grateful? That is why we talk today about this is a precious time for us. It is a precious time. We can never buy back this time. So even if we are not here on the conversation, believe me, we are doing the work and you are also doing it. I congratulate you. I see your videos. I see brothers in the Caribbean island tilling their farms in the days. These are people that never thought. And they say, oh, for just this 1 year, I've been awoke to understand that the earth can give me what I need. I don't need to go and look for a job. We see people repatriating. Oh, my goodness. It is not my language. I'm not apologizing for not correcting, for not speaking out these words well, right? And I wish I would be able to speak Swahili, and I'm already on my course too, and we'll be getting step by step. So yes, you see many evidence on the continent. Those that are already there, putting footprints, they give back feedbacks to us. What is going? What should we be paying attention to? What is it that we should focus on? Oh, yeah, we need support also. Yes, we were coming here. We thought everything was just good from our mindset, but we need reintegration programs. Can we make room for that? They're already on the continent. They're already putting the background. They're already making their own experiences. They are already there, but they are correcting that mistakes on the ground, right? So some people would have to go before the others and to make the way, to open the way, to pay the price of being also, I don't know what, challenges that they're going to go through on the continent, but they are there. They are the door openers on the continent. They are the gatekeepers now. They would face the attacks, whatever challenge, even from the continentals who are also in their brains still colonized, right? And don't even recognize their brothers, still thinking that they need to ask you a passport. Your passport is your color. That should be the way it would be. I mean, how would I even identify on the continent that he is a foreigner to be able to ask a passport? What makes me even just look at somebody like me and I said, you're a foreigner? That is how damaged our brains are. That is how far we are from our identity. That is how entangled, disenfranchised we are. We can talk about political agendas. We can talk about the AU or the government or the leadership on the continent not making, way and facilitating, but we're talking about our individual contributions. How can we help just one another? It's a step-by-step process, like our ancestors did. They did not build the pyramids today. Most of us use even quotes from civilization or from the so-called civilization. And you see people still posting Rome, Africans posting Rome was not built in a day. What is Rome? Rome was just built yesterday. What about the pyramids? So even our quotations must change. I say it every day and I educate, and I had a weekend with a community meeting and I was just telling the children, like, pyramids were not built in a day. The pyramids were not built in a day. That should be our language. Everything that we do reflect on the quotations, and even the quotations that we post. From who? Is it from your ancestors? Is it from your scholars and your experts? We post quotations that don't even reflect us. And most of us are busy on our social media space, posting comments and quotations. Of course, we're living in a global world and a global web, but we're talking about how disconnected we are. We have to stay in our reality. We have to stay in our consciousness. We have to stay on our work. That was just part of the message for today. And I'm so happy that I can sit here again. When I say I'm happy, because it's always not by our powers that we can unite every day to share these conversations. And so for me, it's a privilege, it's an honor to be in that space where you're contributing. So if I have the opportunity to just share a conversation with a brother and a sister, that is a privilege. It is not somebody that has to beg me to do it or pay me to do it. There is no honor than just sharing that for humanity, for your people particularly. If you don't know how it works, I will teach you how it works. And our organization is coming up to teach people about selfless volunteering, because that's where the money is. That is the biggest riches of the African. Our system, our history, our unity, our culture, our values, our personalities were based and categorized. Even our titles were given because of your selfless work to your people and the community. It was not based on credit, merit. No. Look at our compensation theories. Look at our compensation strategies in ancient Africa. What were titles made about? What were medals, awards? Today we have awards. People have to sign in and pay and register and contribute. And you ask what were they doing? And they tell you, oh, I was singing and I had a musical award, so I have a talent. Where does that talent come from? Who are you singing for? If you're an African artist, a painter, or whatever, right? And you're serving your people and you get an award, we're all happy for you. But if because you're singing and making business out of it and become a billionaire and don't even care about your neighborhood, that is no award in the historical and spiritual sense of Africanism or Africanistic or Afrocentric or whatever you call it. Call it anything. But just remember, what were the compensations that we had? And that is the spirit that we want to implement on the Pan-African Daily and the Africa We Want, our organization. It's about selflessness. And we are not going to give merit and credit. Oh, who gives more? Who doesn't give more? It is all unique. Every little drop that you bring, whether you're just sitting there in your space in the diaspora and will be able to teach just one person, or on the continent teaching the diaspora about the integration process, how we come here, what is it that they know, and just telling them, come home. My door is open for you. I am ready. You don't need to buy land now. Until you're settled, I will take you around. You can sleep at my place. You can eat. You're my brother. You're my sister. Where does that fear come from? Who taught us to fear one another and say, oh, no, they're coming and they're bringing ideologies. They're bringing this. What is it that they bring more than a paste that was brought up to us? What? How do you even come up to the knowledge of thinking that I need to be afraid of someone? Of course, there's spirits that don't coincide. But if it happened to you, then your ancestors wanted it. Then it was your time up. Particularly if you're not doing anything working for your people. Particularly if you're just spending time, thinking about yourself, me, myself, and I, and I'm fine, I'm done. Sometimes the ancestors are like, come on, wait a minute. I think you've had enough of yourself. So come back home. Stop wasting time on the planet. So everything happens for a purposeful. We have to go back. We're not just talking. We have to act. Selflessness. Yes. Those that are could contribute financially, we do appreciate. We thank Brother Leo that is always here with us, always injecting the small that we can have to keep this going on. But we also do thank all of you for just signing in, for commenting, for sending love, kiss, and hearts. Oh, I see Stephen. Stephen is saying, Sister Sanovia, really bless you. You see, even just among us, it must not be for me. When we gather here and we're listening, I'm not an entertainer. Please mark this. I am not an entertainer. But you see, the fact that I'm talking and you are also connecting amongst you. I see Kofi Zuma, I see Johnny Boy, I see Leo Wright, and all of you are asking, what did you eat today? Oh, what did you cook? Soto Warrior, and all of you, Rabbi Judge, Ebukum, Sinovia, Yoku, all of you, Marshall, Lawrence, all of you are always here doing your own business. When I say the business, the unity business, the unification business, the connection business, the healing business. Do you know how much that is? Do you know that this is not payable? Nobody can pay this. Africans, we are privileged. It is our time. Let us not underestimate the little contributions that we are doing. Just being here, signing up. I see Atia Hassan is saying, hey, welcome, Susan. I'm also here. Yes, I see you. You're also there. Fatuma Hotman, it's been a while, but I see you here. You see, all of us connecting, one after the other, just sharing, not only with me, Ligola said, hey, coffee, be safely, brother. You know, I mean, Stephen is also here. Stephen, I see you, right? Thank you so much. I mean, we're sharing feedback even from the technical team. Ia is sitting right here. Naisha is there moderating the chat. Kasurim is also out there. Tumi has just started his career today, but would be joining us. Yes. So one more hours. We are privileged. We are in the right time. I'm waiting for your call. Somebody call and just talk black to us here. Who is calling? I want to get that last call that would call out here and actually confirm everything that I'm saying. You know, like I feel like I'm a teacher now, just teaching and lecturing. No, I'm not. We're having a conversation, family. We're having a peaceful conversation time. And what is this conversation about? A unification conversation, loving each other, sharing our uniqueness, sharing who we are. You know, we crack it like the real thing. Don't bother about my slangs, don't bother about my body language, don't bother about how I don't pronounce American English or British English or whatever. Stop it. You would bother the day I wouldn't be able to speak Swahili well. Bother about that. Bother about that, okay? So yes, Paul Brown, thank you. Blessed love, my sister. Thank you, Paul Brown. Thank you, thank you. I don't even know where you're watching from. No one is telling me where they're watching from. Matamera, say Ashe, Dr. Tata. Yes, Ashe to you, Matamera. Matamera. Yeah. And someone is asking, oh, I need something to eat. Kofi asked, I need to get me something to eat. Kofi, before you come here, I always say it. You know our times. Make sure you eat. See, I have my water before I sit here. I'm not going to be telling you, oh, you know what? Please give me a break. I have to go to the kitchen to get me a bite. When we are at the table, at the conversations of unification, of course, we talk about everything that unites us and keeps us powerful with one another. Do you know how much grateful and humble and rich you are? It is only these things because that's what matters, and it matters now. Tomorrow is not even sure, right? So a global peace is there. And the Pan-African Daily TV, we're doing it in the right style, connecting us here, yes, and loving each other. But I will not end this conversation, without going back to talk about this Africa CARICOM Summit. Now, I will really like to read the whole thing. Rachel Binder say, yes, Queen Mother. Rachel, thank you for joining. Thank you for connecting. Rose breaks. Must be a queen. Thank you so much. I'm watching from the UK. Thank you. Kalabari. Yeah, Kalabari language. You say Queen, Dr. Susan. Yes, the Haribari, the Habari language. That's what we should be talking. The Karibuni, the Ashe, the Asante. Yeah, the Asante Sanas. Wow, I can imagine the day we'll start talking about it. But it's also a proposal that even before we get to Swahili, why don't we also introduce the Pidgin language? Because the Pidgin English is what is really, even in the Caribbean, they do speak it like the Creole. Yes, so we are going to introduce these two language as our main cultural language on the Africa We Want platform. And the Dr. Said Institute coming up is really going to be only about culture and development. And we want to not impose. Yes, why not impose the Pidgin English and the Swahili as our continental language? And we're going to be teaching that every day, right? More is coming up. We've been talking. Now we have to get the action going. Now, I want to really read out this thing about this conference, this summit, because this is one of the biggest news that Brother Ibrahim Makunja from Germany, not Germany, a Tanzanian artist and a great, great Pan-African brother just sent it to me. I'm like, get this. Can you imagine? And he said, the first Africa CARICOM summit is coming and it's just a step away. It is now official. The first Africa CARICOM summit will be held on the morning of Tuesday, the 7th September 2021, commencing at 8 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. So you see, as we were talking, the informations now are coming in. Now we know it's 8 a.m. Yeah, Caribbean time. I will have to figure out what time that is that we have here. And it goes, this is a truly historic event, and I hope that it will be telecast live to the people of our Caribbean community on multiple platforms, inclusive of our national television stations. That's the press release of the board that is saying this. So they said, just imagine 500 years after the commencement of the criminal and tragic European transportation of enslaved Africans to the Caribbean. Imagine 500 years. Point number 2, 76 years after the seminal Fifth Pan-African Congress that was held in Manchester, England in 1945, and that brought together the political activists of Africa and the Caribbean to conceive plans to bring about the decolonization of these two areas of the African world. Imagine 76 years. 58 years since the 1963 establishment of the Organization of the African Unity, that is the OAU, today known as the African Union. It has been 58 years. Imagine 53 years after the founding of CARIFTA and 48 years after the establishment of CARICOM. So CARICOM has been in establishment since 48 years, but they have never met. That's what we're talking about. So the heads of governments of Africa and the Caribbean community will finally be sitting down around a table, virtual though it may be, discussing their common origin, history, concerns, and objectives, and planning a bright future of collaboration and solidarity. Ashe. I said it already. Participating in the summit would be such heads of governments as President Uhuru Kenyatta. I already read those who will be participating. Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley, that's the Barbados Prime Minister. And then we have President Nana Akufo-Addo. We have the Prime Minister Gaston Brownie, President Cyril Ramaphosa, Gaston Brownie, Prime Minister Keith Rowley, President Paul Kagame, and Prime Ministers Rav Conslaves and John Briscoe. I'm sorry, Bryce. So I think this is saying, among others, we're still going to get a detailed list, but honestly, we have to reach out to one correspondent out there in the Caribbean to actually put an eye on this CARICOM, or we also will be reaching out to get a guest to tell us exactly about this historic, iconic event. Yeah. So, but the summit would also benefit from the input. Listen, people, benefit from the input of the new Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, yeah, and the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, for the first time. Wow. I mean, this is our time. This is our time. This is our time. This is our time. And it is anticipated that these deliberations will lead to multiple initiatives of unity, collaboration, institution building, and people to people exchanges between Africa and the Caribbean. What are we doing on the Pan African Daily? Right? Not the first time. We're already connecting, building networks, platforms. It's already had been. So, anything that happens in the physical has already always been programmed by our ancestors, by the Creator in the non-physical world. So what we are seeing, that is going to happen is what already had prepared the path. We've been talking about the UNAI. It is not starting today. You know, Dr. Marcus Garvey started this decades. He's talking about the 500 years. It's also about the UNI, right? So what have they not been doing? Connecting, building. Now we have even the how do they call it? The statues of His Excellency Marcus Garvey elevated in Ethiopia. It has been the work of the Creator and the ancestors for this past, reconnecting back. So most of us, their journey had already began spiritually. That's what we're talking about, the spirituality. It's not something that somebody will go and tell us, oh, you need to do this now before it happens. It had already been happening. Now we're seeing the physical manifestation of everything that has been happening in the spiritual realms and the connection and the dimensions. Now it's coming out physically. So we say, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there. Yes. So let the word therefore go out all across the Caribbean and the wider African diaspora that the summit meeting of Tuesday, 7 September 2021 promises to be a towering milestone in our long and determined struggle to rebuild our magnificent, autonomous Pan-African civilization. I share. It's like tapping is. We are there. We are there. Yeah. Africa and the Caribbean are finally coming back together at the highest levels of government and policy making. It is a start. So, Dr. Excellency King Professor Marcus Garvey is alive. How do we want to see him again? We post images and keep that spirit alive, but we see his work. It's going to be at the table. What they all, the Malcolm X, they fought for, the Patrice Lumumba, the Kwame Nkrumah, yeah, all of them, the Thomas Sankara, the Muammar Gaddafi. Now today we're seeing the generations coming up to say, yes, we did not forget. I love this statement. I love this statement. This statement, let the word therefore go out all across the Caribbean and the wider African diaspora that the summit meeting of Tuesday, 7th of September 2021 promises to be a towering milestone in our long and determined struggle to rebuild our magnificent, autonomous Pan-African civilization. I don't know whether I should stand, I should scream, I should dance, but that is the message. And he signed it, David Commission, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, you are listening to us on the Pan-African Daily TV. We want to congratulate this initiative. We also want to congratulate the African Union and the chairperson for the first time that we are having to hear this kind of a breaking. And thank you. On the first day of the Global Peace Week on the Pan-African Daily, this message was dropped to us while we were live. I'm going to reproduce this communication. We're going to come up with this flyer. We're going to connect with them to understand what is actually going to go on. How can people join? How can they disseminate this word out there? Where and when? What modalities? Is it going to be a Zoom? Must people sign out? All this is going to happen in our eyes. Us watching the dream of Pan-Africanism and the unification of the African, championed by the OAU. What more else do we want to see? What is it that we want to see? Global peace is possible. Good. So I hope you have had enough of this. The big news, the good news, the sweet news. Yeah. I mean, if you are looking for something to cheer up, I want to cheer with the elements of the dimension, water, and calling on all our ancestors that are gone, even the recent one like Dr. Ronoko Rashidi. Yeah, the recent ones that we don't even know, most of them that pass on in their sleeps, in their various communities and homes, whether those that were speaking or not. If you had been on this dimension as a Black person from the Creator, you are a spirit and a part of us. Doesn't matter whether you are an advocate for Pan-Africanism or not. Doesn't matter whether you are contributing. You might just even get up every morning, but the fact that you walk on every street and you represent, you're already part, and each and every one of us. So I love and I thank you. I'm taking the last call from our brother and we'll be rounding up. And I'm also wishing all of you there a happy time. I hope you should be celebrating already. Tuesday is not far, and I hope we are going to try to stream it live. I know they say we are the small ones. Even though we're the small ones, our voices matter in the contribution of the Pan-African civilization, whether it's policy or public or diplomacy or whatever. We're already doing the work anyway without titles or entitlement or belonging, and it's our duty to do it. So tomorrow, pay attention to the conversation with King Bongana. He's going to be live here with us, and nothing is going to stop that. Yeah, it is our time. You already see it. Did I say so? I said it. Brother. Come on, go ahead. I have our ears on. Yes.
Susan, how are you, man?
But you can see it. Don't you feel me?
Susan.
Yes.
Susan, are you hearing me?
I hear you.
Okay. All right. Now, I would like, I don't know, I will try to see if I can get a message across to Mia Motley in Barbados, but I think, I don't know if you might have any contacts in that area, but I would like for Mia Motley to have a conversation with Faki Mohammed, pertaining to we in the diaspora. We are the 6th region in the diaspora. So I would like if this can be, this message can go to Mia Motley on the summit on Tuesday. You know, because my prime minister here is not really a part of the whole setup. So if someone can reach Mia Motley, and I mean, I don't know, I can try see if I can find.
Of course, she is on. Didn't you listen to the list of participants? She is on.
Yeah, I know she's on, but I'm saying that I don't know how to get this message across her beyond. I would like if she could have a conversation with Faki Mohammed. You know, when they come together on Tuesday, you know, to consider we the 6th region in the diaspora in the Caribbean.
Okay.
I think it was being delayed because of the coronavirus and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to have it signed, you know, that agreement to be signed like yesterday. It's been delayed because of the coronavirus.
Okay.
So,
Williams, you are just as excited as me. They already have put this agenda. What is making us really happy about it? We see, they say, among others participants is going to be I mean, they already listed everything that we wanted. But exactly what you're saying is that we want to see the Prime Minister articulate this in real terms. And if they are meeting even virtually, why not? We sign virtual papers right now, right? So no more excuses about pandemic or everything. It's gone. It's going. People are actively engaged, and so that's fine. So thank you. We're looking forward to seeing that.
Good. Just one thing. Do you know exactly where it's going to be held? Which island?
That is what I just said, that we're still going to get more information. But tonight we're going to get to work to find out more information about that, and even to get a spokesman from CARICOM tell us exactly what this is all about.
Okay. All right, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. But they're saying it's going to be virtual though, so I don't think it's going to be in a particular. It's going to be an online thing. It's a virtual conference, as I see. But let's get more of the details from really the right source, right?
All right. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Stay excited. Right. At least something is happening.
Yeah. right. Yeah. It's great news.
Good news. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Good. And thank you all of you for watching. So tomorrow, like I said, please don't forget to drink water, and don't forget to pray tonight, and thank our ancestors for this first Africa Summit. When something is always coming up, it is not on notice. And don't ever think that everything, as we're happy, everybody's happy with us uniting. So please, let's just go down to the basics, connect to our Creator, to humanity, and to nature, and just thank them for even voicing it out at this point in time. After 500 years, we're hearing something is going to happen. So yes, make sure, water. And we see us tomorrow, same time, with King Mbongane, as we continue the Global Peace Week on the Pan-African Daily TV. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 # 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.